Hey everybody! So I've been getting a lot of comments and questions about how to flatten and level a stone, and so I thought I'd make a video on that today. So when you're flattening a stone, regardless of if you have a rough stone, a medium stone, or a fine stone, you can use what's called a stone fixer to flatten it. So right here, I have my broken stone fixer. I didn't bring my good one home, unfortunately. I do have it at Corin, but these come in a variety of different styles. This particular one is very small, but as you can see, it has these grooves on it. These grooves actually help catch more material off the surface of your stone and fixes your stone or flattens your stone a lot faster. Now there are larger ones and there are ones that are more efficient. The one I use back at work, it's actually a much larger stone fixer, much bigger than this. This is actually what I travel with. When you have a larger stone fixer, the stone fixer covers a larger part of your stone. There's more surface area in contact with the stone, allowing it to flatten much faster, but also it's easier to get a nice even surface or even finish. Now there are other ways that you can flatten your stones, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So when you're using a stone fixer, what you want to do is make sure that you wet this. Right now I'm just going to place this in water. And the other thing that you want to do is make sure that the stone that you want to fix is prepped properly. So if you wanted to fix one of these, a rough stone or a medium stone, make sure these have been soaking before you go ahead and flatten them or fix them. So I'm going to place these in water once again. Now if you're going to be fixing or flattening a finishing stone, you can just splash it with water. Now a common question that I get is, well, how do I know when my stone is flat? If you have a stone that's very light in color, like this one right here, you can see all these dark spots that's developed on the stone. That shows me where I've been using my stone, and at the same time that shows me the low parts of the stone. So what I'm going to do is use my stone fixer and work the surface as evenly as possible until all these dark spots start to disappear. Once that's gone, that's when I know my stone is flat and ready for me to use again. Now in some cases, if you have a darker colored stone, it might be hard to see these dark streaks. In that case, what you can do is use a Sharpie or a marker and draw a grid onto your stone. And what you're going to do is use your stone fixer until the grid is completely disappeared. So that's what I'm going to do right now. As you can see right now, I do have a lighter stone, so I can see all the wear that it's gone through. But just to show you what I mean, I'm going to use a Sharpie and show you what I do. So I just drew a grid and I'm going to start to fix this stone right now. I'm going to make sure I set a towel down because it's going to get a little wet and messy. And once I do that, I'm going to use some water to wet the stone. Now I'm going to take the stone fixer and the first thing I'm going to do is grind down these corners, okay? I want to make sure that the corners are nice and ground down or not sharp, because if I leave that, it can actually catch when I'm sharpening my knife. So I want to make sure I wear down all the corners, and I do this on a regular basis just to make sure that there's no sharp edges. Now once I've done that, I'm ready to go ahead and flatten the stone. What I'm going to do is use the side with the grooves first, okay? The grooves really allow me to grind more material faster. It's just going to fix my stone a little bit faster. So when I use the stone fixer, what's happening is the stone is actually being worn down from the highest points. For me, I tend to use this diagonal portion of the stone most. So this part is what's worn down. And this corner and this corner is a little bit higher. So what this does is starts to grind down the high points on the stone until it's level with the low points of the stone. And again, I'm consciously trying to work the stone as evenly as possible. And what's happening is the points that are higher are starting to wear down. And you can see by the grit, the points where the grit is starting to disappear is where the stone was a little bit higher. The points where the grit is still remaining is where the stone was worn down, and now I'm going to keep working until the whole grit is completely gone. Now when you're using the stone fixer, make sure to wet the stone every now and then. You want to make sure that there's a good amount of water so that it helps with the fixing process. Now once you get to a point where it's starting to get pretty even, what you want to do is, if you have a stone fixer with these grooves, you want to flip it over and start to use the flat side. That's going to give you a smoother, more even finish. Now another thing that I actually like to do every now and then is to turn the stone around. No matter how hard I try to work evenly, there are some points that I end up applying more pressure. So by spinning the stone around, I'm able to control the pressure a little bit more evenly. Now as you can see, the grit is completely gone. Once I wipe the surface, you can see that the surface of my stone is completely clean. Now at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and start to use my stone again. Now this isn't perfectly level, just because my stone fixer is a lot smaller than the stone, so it's very difficult to get a perfectly flat surface. If I wanted to do that, I would use a bigger stone fixer that covers more of the surface area at the same time, ensuring that I get a really perfectly level surface. Now this process took me about 5 minutes or so, just because I fix my stones on a regular basis. If I really let my stone get out of hand and it was very, very uneven, this process could have taken a lot longer. So you got to make sure that you keep up with the maintenance of your stones. Now a common question that I get is, can I use another stone to fix my stone? And the answer is actually yes. If I wanted to, I can use a medium grit to fix my finer grit, just like this. But there are a couple of problems. First, if your stone that you're using to fix your other stone is not flat, then nothing's going to come out even or level. The other thing is, even if this is flat, as you're fixing your stone, this will start to become uneven. So there is a limit to how flat you can get it with just 2 stones. Lastly, what I don't like is that the grit from your rougher stone can work your way into your finer stone. So this is a 1000 grit and this is a 8000 grit. The grain from the 1000 could embed itself in the 8000 and cause this to be rougher until that starts to rub off. So it can leave a little bit of a deeper scratch on your knife if you're not careful. Now I hope that cleared up a little bit of the questions that you might have had about fixing stones. The most important thing I say is to make sure that you fix your stones as frequently as possible. Now I always like to tell people this. There is a joke among sharpeners in Japan. We say we're knife sharpeners, but we spend more time fixing our stones. And on that note, I'll see you guys later.